describe myself as a kind person, and I'm always ready to help somebody in need. If it's they may be needing food or clothing, or even interpreting or translating documents for them, I am ready to assist in that way. I'm very conscious of, I'm a wife, so I'm conscious of how my husband is he well fed? Does he need clean clothes? Or I'm always making sure that he's well. Making sure that he takes his medication and things like that. I see myself as just being a thoughtful person. Okay. I'm not one of those women there's some women that don't like saying the year that they were born, because then you can figure out their age. It doesn't matter to me. I was born on September 10th, 1955. And I think if I remember my certificate, it was maybe around 11 or noon, somewhere around there. I was born in Pontiac, Michigan. Yes, up there north where supposedly it's majority of the times cold. I still have cousins that live up there, but we didn't stay as I can remember. We stayed there maybe till I was around 4 years old or something like that, and then we moved to Texas. Yeah. Oh wow. My life growing up, there's goods and sads or bads growing up, but what I remember the most is as little as I was, even in Michigan, my parents were they work out in the fields, and I remember I don't know, you know how some things just that you stay in your mind when you were little. Well, I remember that when they would go to work, I was the oldest of 3 of us. And as little as I was, they depended on me to take care of my other 2 sisters. And when they would go out to the fields, which it was just outside where we lived, because we lived in houses where the pickers could live. And they were picking tomatoes. And I remember that my mom, every time she came back close to the house, she would come in and check on us. But my childhood around then was being like a little babysitter. I remember feeding my little sister carnation milk, and I knew how to mix it because I was taught how to mix water and the can of milk, so I would be able to feed her. And I remember that much. I remember that when they were out picking tomatoes and they came to eat, the way they would wash their hands was they would get some of those tomatoes and just squish the tomatoes, and that's how they would wash their hands. That stayed in my mind always, so that was kind of neat. Yeah. Then there was just 2 sisters, because the sister that comes next to me, her name is Carolina. She was born in Pontiac, Michigan too, so we were there long enough for 2 of us to be born there. The third one, she wasn't born in Pontiac, so we must have been, I don't know, that's weird because two of us was born in Pontiac, and then we, it's, now that you ask me that, that's weird because my third sister, the one that I took care of, she was born in Texas, McAllen, Texas. So we must have gone to Texas, and she was born there, and then we must have gone back. So I'm not sure about that part of my life. So I you know what, my dad is still alive, and I need to ask him what happened in between there, but that much I do remember. But now we're 6 of us, I think. I always have to count. I have it's myself, Carolina, Lourdes, Rosalinda, Cruzita, and then my brother Juan Jose, who we call JJ. So it's 6 of us. We lost maybe 3 in between. My mom miscarried twins, and we lost 4, and she miscarried another child, and then we tragically lost a little sister at 3 years old. She was hit by a car. She died. It was a tragic accident. It traumatized all of us. Coming to Dallas, I remember being about maybe 6 years old, 5, turning to 6, because I remember that entering school, elementary, my birthday came too late, so I couldn't. I was in the 1st grade only 1 semester, and then they had to move me to the 2nd grade because I think I was not of age or whatever. So when we first came, my sister and my sister Carolina, we were 1st graders together, but then they moved me to 2nd grade. So I'm thinking I was around that age, around 5, 6 years old. I believe that growing up in Dallas, especially as in like elementary, we had some adventurous times. A lot of times we got to walk to school, which was a long ways. It was long. It might have taken us maybe 20-25 minutes to get home, but we had a lady that picked us up in the morning and dropped us off to school. So I got to go to elementary school, a school that's not even there anymore. It was called Benito Juarez Elementary. And then I got to go to Sidney Lanier and CF Carr. So I got to finish school here. My life here was, I would say, maybe like everybody else. I think my childhood life was off and on, good and bad. My dad had an accident maybe when I was around 13, 14, and so we had to move from the house that we lived because my dad couldn't provide for us. So we had to get into temporary assistance, which we weren't used to it, but since my dad couldn't provide and my mom was pregnant, they moved us, or we had to move to west of Dallas, what they call the projects. And so there was another interesting life living in the projects, because we were not too many Hispanic families living there. The majority was black families, and so we just had to learn to get along with them and us, and some of them weren't too nice, and I guess some of us weren't too nice either. But uh, that's how life was. But in my teen life, um, we went to, because my mom was Catholic, so she raised us in that religion. She would send us to church, and a bus would come and pick us up. And as we got older, when I was a teenager, we would actually walk to the church. And so we were involved in the church, going to Bible studies, which they call catechism classes, I think. And I went through the ritual of doing the what they call the first communion and all that. Didn't get too much involved in youth activities because there wasn't a way to get there, because some of those youth activities were at night and we didn't have transportation. Both my parents worked at night, and that's another thing that I had to take care of my siblings, because they both worked till either my dad till either midnight, and my mom, we didn't see her until the morning. Like she would get home in enough time to help us to get ready to go to school. So it was we mostly had to stay home, because they always scared us of that something could happen to us if we got out of the house. And it's weird that we really listened, because we didn't get out of our home. I mean, there was nobody taking care of us. We could have been one of those rebellious kids and think, oh, they're not home, we can do whatever. But no, we all stayed home, And I think I made sure that we stayed in, and we'd keep the doors locked. Sometimes we would talk to our friends, but through the screen doors, but we wouldn't go out the screen door. Right when I graduated, we were still at the projects, but by then my parents decided to find a house, because we were able, my dad got back on his feet, and he opened a gas station, and so he became an owner of a gas station. So he was doing pretty good in supporting us, and then my mom was working, so they got to buy a house in Oak Cliff, and so they moved us to Oak Cliff. By then, I've already graduated. I didn't want to go to college. I never did want to go to college. And I told them that. I'd rather work since I was still at home. And my parents said, okay, well, you gotta work. You can't just stay home. So I started looking for somewhere where I could work. And there was places that I worked even as a teenager, even before I graduated. Like I worked at a clinic, I worked at a Burger King, I worked at I even worked at one time working out in the fields, but I didn't like that. I didn't stay long doing that. I think I only did it a month or 2 months, something like that. But then I finally got into this program that I don't think it's around anymore. It was called Operation Celia, and it was a program for they would train you in like secretarial or mechanics. They would train you and pay you at the same time. That doesn't happen here anymore. Even for you to get your GED, they would pay you. And so I got into that program, getting into the secretarial training that they had. And I already had skills because like typing skills and office skills, because I had taken some of those in high school. So when I got into the secretarial training, I was kind of I already knew some of the stuff that they were teaching. So the teacher had me apply at a job opening that they actually had in that same program in the front office, and they hired me. But she wouldn't leave me out of training programs that they had, or if they had a speaker to come in, they would invite me to go and join with the class. And so I got to do that. And one of those times, a government employee came in and did a speaking engagement with the class, and he even gave us an exam, which, I mean, they didn't ask us, did we want to take the exam? They just gave us the exam, and everybody took it. And after that, he even said that if we wanted to apply, for us to fill out an application, and they all gave us an application. It was like we didn't have it was like we couldn't say no. They just put it in front of us, and we all applied, you know. And it's interesting because within even that same month, not even before the month was over, I started getting job offers from the government. And the boss that I had then, she said, well, you know, I don't want to lose you, but sounds like a good opportunity for you to check into. So I did. You know, I started getting interviews, and it turned out that right away they hired me. So that was good, you know. When I was still in that program, I met my husband Juan. At first, I wasn't too sure about dating Juan, but I finally gave in because he was funny, you know. And I didn't really think about marriage right away, but as I got to know Juan more and more, I in my mind, well, I was younger then, so I don't remember all that went through my mind, but I was ready. I felt that I was ready to make a bigger change and get married. You know, I had been home after I graduated. I was with my parents maybe after I graduated, within the year that after that I met Juan, and I decided that I was ready to get married. I decided, but I didn't know how tough it was gonna be, because I did miss living with my parents, and there was so many. I can just talk about the times that I had being married, missing home, and how I cried and all that. But you know, it's like I older and understood where home was. I adjusted. My marriage, when we first started, it was fine. I'm not saying that it was like happy-go-lucky or whatever. It was just fine. Like I said, me having to get used to not being at home, I think it was a little tough for Juan, because Juan was used to being on his own. He already lived on his own for so many years, but not me. I was a mama's girl, and so that was issues, because I always thought that home was still over there with my parents, and I didn't think that home was over here with my husband. So I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done, like I would go over to my parents' home first after work instead of coming straight to my house home with my husband. So that was issues there. And like I said, I was immature, so a lot of things started happening that there was decisions that I did then that sometimes didn't make sense, but like I said, I was immature. back then, our marriage, I described it as not being really in communication with each other. I described it as, I think we both assume what one or the other wanted from each other. We did a lot of mistakes. And I think that's where the issues really were. We were just, of course, everybody's different, and I was raised different from how he was raised, and I was more closer to my mom, my sisters, and my husband's side, they weren't close. So there were so many miscommunications between the both of us, and it wasn't good. Maybe there was at times that it was okay, but overall it was not good. I didn't stay home. I ran away from home maybe 3-4 different times, and I would come back and still the same thing would happen. So finally I was gone and wanted a divorce, and went through the divorce procedures, and then finally I recognized that my husband Juan was going a different direction. He started going to church, and then I saw a difference in his life, and I eventually wanted the same thing. I wanted a difference in my life too, and that's how things started changing. That our marriage needed, we needed to change, and first, before even our marriage. I mean, by then we already had 2 sons, and we needed to do this not just for ourselves, being selfish, but for our sons. And we did those changes. Our changes were, which it took time, but we talked over what needed to be done in the home, what needed to be done with each other, and we needed to set rules, not just for ourselves, but for our sons. And that's how things started changing. It was a process, and it's still, even to this day, a process. We're going to be going into 50 years of marriage in another month, and we're still, there's still things that we're, sometimes that we learn about each other. Because Juan invited me to church. I didn't want to at first, because I mean, like I said, I was raised Catholic, and I never was, even when I was a Catholic, wasn't really into it. And then when Juan started doing changes and going to church, and him inviting me, at first I wasn't too sure. I said, what is this? But one of the services that he invited me, which was maybe the 3rd service that I finally went, we were still separated, because we did separate. It seems like the pastor that was doing the preaching, he was saying, he was talking, it seems like he was just talking to me and not nobody else. Even though the room was full of people, it seemed like he was just talking about me or to me. And I kind of felt like leaving, because I said, what has Juan told him about me? And this man don't know me. And it just kept hitting my heart, or hitting my mind, of what he was saying that was so true about me. And that morning at that service, I decided that I wanted Christ in my life, that I wanted that life that Juan by then was showing that he was living, or that he was going forward with that. And then the people there, it seemed like they were also in that life, and I wanted the same. And so that morning I gave my life to the Lord, and things started changing. It's like my eyes opened up to a lot of things around me, how people were living, and how people should be living, and how I should raise my sons, and so many things. There was so much change, and how much I wanted to talk about this change that had happened in me. So I started speaking to people that I didn't even know, or even to my own relatives, and they, I freaked them out because they couldn't believe that what was coming out of my mouth, and the change that I was doing. That they even called me, my own sisters would call me, here comes the Hallelujah hermana, or the Hallelujah sister, which it didn't bother me because, hey, hallelujah to the Lord. Both my sons, especially my oldest son, saw a lot of the trauma and abuse that when he went through it with us, and in our lives, him growing up with us. I think all the way to the age of maybe 7, right before 8, because I believe at 8 years old, him with my husband, I think he gave his life to the Lord. But before then, he saw a lot, and he even remembers to this day what our lives were as he was growing up. So that's Juan Jr., and we call him Nino. My youngest, Eliazar, David, who we call Chicho, he came in at the end, right before my husband became a Christian. So he didn't get to see very much. But even in the beginning of our Christian life, there was still, we were learning. So there was still a lot of faults that we had, that how we how would you say, how we treated them at times, or how we communicated with them. Sometimes it wasn't that good, because we were learning ourselves. So, but he didn't get to see the real bad in our lives, of Juan and myself's lives. So, but they're now grown, they have their own families, and they have their own lives, and now at home it's just Juan and I, and we love the Lord, and our home is to serve God, and that's what we do. And so we're still involved. We have our own ministry, which we're very involved in. We're both counselors. We're both Christian counselors, and so we've come a long way. Oh my Lord, I love my grandchildren. I can even come to tears because that's how much I love them. We have six of them, and I thank God for the 6 grandchildren that we have. They're grown, but I always wanted a lot of children, but I thank the Lord that I had my 2 sons. Sorry. My oldest granddaughter, Ariana Nina, is 22. And then Basilio Armando is 19. And Santiago Israel, he's 18. And Nayeli Faith is 16. And then there's Hava, who is 15. Hava is from my youngest. The other four is from my oldest, Nino. And Hava is from Chicho. Hava is 15. And Palmer is 13. So they're not babies. Oh. When they were little, I made sure that they knew that they were cousins, and I did activities. I made sure that we had activities for them, and when Palmer and Hava would come visit, I made sure that I would bring the other four so they could all be together and just know that they were cousins. So I love my grandchildren, and they all have different lives. They all are doing different things, you know. It's not the greatest things that's happening that I can say that they're this or that they're doctors or whatever. No, not right now. But they're okay, and they're doing the best that they can in school and in their jobs. The oldest already have jobs. Oh yes, the ministry we have is a Christian ministry, New Life Christian Counseling Ministry. Juan Perez is my husband is the lead pastor of the ministry, and our ministry is not large; it's small. We're Christian counselors, and we get to And at first we used to have a church. We ministered people in a church, like a regular church. But with this ministry, it seems like, we have touched and brought people to the Lord, hundreds of people more than we did when we had the church. And we have assisted so many couples and individuals of all races, you know, with our counseling, and we continue to do that. And I'm not saying that it has been 100% successful all this time, but I would say that maybe 85 to 90% it has been a success in a lot of the cases that we have had. We've had testimonies. We've had from people that have been assisted, and we've even had letters, and we've even had visitors that come and thank us for assisting them in their marriage or just as individuals. So yes, it's and not just counseling, but we've gone out to different churches and done training in the counseling area and done seminars in the different areas of people's life, to do with marriage, to do with their children, to do just with themselves. We have done, and we're still open for it. I would just like to share with everyone that there is hope if you are just willing to open your heart, open to whatever it is that you're going through. There is someone out there. There is people out there that care and are willing to assist you in whatever part in your life. There is God that loves you and loves all of us, no matter what we're going through, no matter what how you think, or even if you think that you're the worst, or that you have done so bad that God is not open to listen to you or to help you, God loves you, and there is someone out there that is willing to help you and guide you in the right direction. Thank you.